They called him on stage as a joke, expecting an awkward laugh and a quick exit. Instead, he closed his eyes, started to sing, and the entire room fell silent. No one had imagined he carried a voice like that. By the time he finished, the crowd wasn't laughing anymore. They were on their feet, realizing they'd just witnessed something unforgettable. It was the wrap party for a mid-budget action movie, held in a cramped downtown bar that smelled like sweat, beer, and stage lights that had been burning for too many hours. Stunt guys were trying to outflip each other near the pool table. The assistant director was asleep in a booth under a pile of jackets, and the band on stage was halfway through a noisy rock cover that nobody was really listening to. Keanu had slipped in quietly, no entourage, just a black jacket, worn boots, and the kind of tired smile you see on someone who has given everything all day and is now trying to disappear into the background. He kept thanking the bartenders, asking the sound guy about his broken amp, helping one of the grips pick up spilled equipment cases like he was just another crew member instead of the reason the movie existed. I watched all of this from my usual spot by the side of the stage. My name is Maya, production assistant by day, terrified singer by night. Only night never actually happened because my voice always seemed to vanish the second anyone pointed a microphone my way. The house band let me sit in on rehearsals sometimes, and they kept telling me I should step up and sing at least one song at the wrap party. I had promised them maybe, which really meant never. But as I stood there coiling cables, watching Keanu laugh politely at someone's story, I felt that familiar ache inside, the one that whispered that I was meant for more than staying invisible. That's when my ex, Tyler, climbed onto the stage with a swagger that could knock bottles off the shelf. He was the lead guitarist for the house band, a walking tangle of ego and talent, and he loved two things more than anything else, being the center of attention and poking at other people's insecurities until they snapped. He grabbed the mic with one hand and a beer with the other, hair dripping sweat, eyes already a little wild. All right, listen up." He shouted, and the noise in the bar dipped just enough for his voice to cut through. "We got a movie star in the house tonight." A few people cheered, a couple of phones went up, but most of the crew were too used to seeing Keanu on set to make a big deal. That only pushed Tyler to go further. "You spend all day watching this guy dodge bullets in slow motion," he went on, "but I want to know if he can do the really hard stuff." His eyes slid toward Keanu with a grin that I knew too well. It was the grin he used right before doing something cruel and pretending it was a joke. My stomach tightened. I could already see where this was heading, and every instinct in me screamed to cut his mic, to yank the power, to do anything before he dragged someone gentle into his little circus. Keanu looked up from his quiet corner, midway through signing a napkin for one of the lighting assistants. He raised his eyebrows, wary but amused, as if he'd been through 1,000 of these moments and still hoped they might turn out harmless. "Come on, man," Tyler said, pointing at him. "Keanu Reeves, ladies and gentlemen, we've seen him shoot, kick, punch, drive, and die like 20 times. But can he sing?" Laughter rippled through the room, not mean, not yet, but close. Nervous laughter, the kind that waits to see what direction the crowd will choose. I watched Keanu's face shift almost imperceptibly. The smile didn't leave, but it tightened at the edges. Most people would miss that, but I'd spent months on set watching him between takes, seeing how he always stepped back when the cameras stopped, how he made room for everyone else. He hated this kind of spotlight, the kind that asked him to perform when no one had earned it. For a second, I thought he'd just shake his head and wave it off. He had every right to. It was a drunk dare, a cheap laugh. But then the chant started, soft at first, then rolling through the bar like a tide. "Keanu, Keanu, Keanu." The director laughed and tapped his glass. A producer shouted, "Come on, give us a show." One of the stunt guys whistled, slapping the table. I could see the pressure closing in on him from every side, a wall of good-natured teasing that still felt like a trap. Say no and you're uptight. Say yes and you're the clown on command. I caught his eyes for just a second as he looked around, searching for any exit from the circle they'd drawn around him. What I saw there wasn't annoyance. It was something older and quieter. That familiar fear of being turned into a joke in front of people who only half know you. Tyler sensed the tension and doubled down. "Tell you what," he said, pacing the front of the stage like a game show host. "One song, just one. If you suck, we'll still love you. Well, most of us." The band laughed on cue. "But if you're actually good," he turned to the crowd, raising his beer. Drinks are on the producers, the room erupted. People pounded tables, shouted, clapped. The noise pressed at my ears until it was almost a roar. All the while, Keanu just sat there, staring at the floor for a heartbeat too long, choosing. That was the moment I couldn't stay still anymore. I pushed through the bodies, my chest tight, until I was near his table. I didn't have a plan, only a feeling that this was wrong, that kindness was about stepping in even when your voice shook. "You don't have to do it," I murmured, leaning close enough so only he could hear. My heart hammered so loudly I was sure he'd mistake it for the bass. "They're just drunk, it's not fair." He looked up at me, surprised, and in his eyes I saw gratitude and something else. Curiosity, maybe, like he was trying to figure out why a stranger would take his side when it cost her nothing to laugh along with everyone else. Then he did something I did not expect. He stood up slowly, pushing his chair back, and the room exploded in cheers, but he didn't look at the crowd first. He kept his gaze on me, steady and almost gentle, like he was still asking a question only I could answer. "What's your name?" he asked over the noise. "Maya," I said, my throat suddenly dry. He nodded once as if that settled something in his mind. Then he turned toward the stage, lifted a hand to calm the room, and said in that calm, low voice everyone recognized, "All right, I'll sing, but only if Maya sings with me." Every head swung toward me so fast it felt like the air moved. My knees went weak. Tyler's smile cracked for the first time. The band looked stunned. I hadn't sung in front of a real crowd since the night everything went wrong 3 years ago, the night I'd promised myself I would never step on a stage again. Yet now, the man they were trying to turn into a joke had just reached out and quietly pulled me into the center of it all with him. And as Keanu started walking toward the microphone, hand extended in my direction, I felt that old terror rising up like a tidal wave, along with a tiny, burning question inside me. Was I about to run, or was I about to follow him onto that stage? The room blurred at the edges as every face turned toward me. Keanu was still standing there, hand out, waiting like this was the most normal thing in the world, asking a trembling production assistant to share a stage with him. My legs felt like they were made of wet sand. Somewhere behind me, someone shouted, "Go on, Maya," and laughter rolled over it like a wave. I didn't remember deciding to move, but suddenly I was on my feet. Keanu's hand was warm and steady when I took it. He didn't pull or drag. He simply walked beside me through the crowd, letting me set the pace as phones lifted and people stepped aside. I caught flashes of faces, crew members I'd fetched coffee for, stunt performers I'd watched fling themselves off rooftops, the producer who couldn't remember my name after 6 months. Now they were all looking straight at me, like I'd been yanked out from behind the curtain into a spotlight I never asked for. Halfway to the stage, the noise of the bar dissolved into something else. The echo of another room 3 years earlier, the taste of cheap tequila and panic on my tongue. I saw myself on a different stage, shaky hands clutching a microphone at an open mic night Tyler had dragged me to. "This is my girlfriend," he'd told the crowd back then. "She's shy, but she can sing, trust me." I'd opened my mouth and nothing had come out. People had waited, then started whispering, then laughing. My vision had blurred with tears until the room melted into colors. Tyler had played it off as a joke. "Stage fright," he'd said, grinning. "Guess she's not ready for prime time." I'd laughed along, but something inside me had shut a door and nailed it shut. Now here I was again, walking toward another microphone with the same man on the guitar and the same fear wrapped around my ribs like barbed wire. I almost stopped. Keanu felt the hesitation and leaned in, his voice low enough that only I could hear. "We can sit back down," he said. "No problem, no one deserves to be pushed." His tone wasn't gentle in the fake Hollywood way. It was practical, respectful, like he meant it. I swallowed hard. "If I sit down now," I whispered, "I don't think I'll ever get back up." My voice cracked on the last word. He held my gaze for a second that felt strangely quiet, even with the shouting all around us, then gave me a small nod as if I'd just made a real decision, not just stumbled forward. We climbed onto the little wooden stage. Tyler handed Keanu a microphone with a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. "Didn't know you needed backup, man," he said, glancing at me. "Guess every hero needs a sidekick." The band chuckled, but it sounded forced. Keanu took the mic like he hadn't heard the jab. "Actually, I'm the backup," he said calmly. "She's the singer tonight." He looked at me when he said it, and something in my chest flickered. The crowd quieted a little, curiosity edging out drunken teasing. Keanu turned to the band. "Let's keep it simple," he suggested. "Slow groove, four-chord progression, something soulish, no tricks." His tone was polite but firm, used to collaboration, not command. The drummer nodded, adjusting his sticks. The bassist grinned. Only Tyler looked annoyed, fingers tapping impatiently on the fretboard. "What song?" the drummer asked. Keanu glanced at me. "What do you like to sing?" he asked. The question hit me like a foreign language. I'd spent so long avoiding stages that I'd stopped even imagining favorites. I don't know," I said. "Anything, something soft." My throat tightened. "I just don't want to mess it up." He stepped a little closer. "The only way to mess it up," he said quietly, "is to forget it's supposed to be fun." His eyes were steady, kind, but not pitying. "You don't have to prove anything to anyone here, just tell the truth. People can feel that." It was such a simple sentence, but it cut through the noise in my head in a way no pep talk ever had. Tyler rolled his eyes. "Okay, coach," he muttered, then louder. "We'll do that old soul ballad from rehearsal. Key of A," he hit a bright, showy chord, testing the amp. "Try to keep up." His tone told me that if I failed, he'd be the first one to turn it into a punchline. Keanu ignored the edge in his voice. He adjusted the mic stand to my height, crouched to untangle a cable at my feet, then straightened up. "If it gets too much," he said, "just look at me. We'll treat it like there's no one else in the room." He moved his own mic a little to the side, like he wanted the angle of the lights to favor me instead of him. My palms were slick against the metal of the microphone. The drummer clicked his sticks together, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the band slid into a slow, smoky groove. The bass hummed like a heartbeat, the drums whispered, and Tyler's guitar traced a lazy line of notes over the top, already a little too loud. The first verse was mine. Every ear in the room turned toward me. My chest expanded. I leaned toward the mic. Nothing came out. Air moved through my throat, but my voice stayed locked behind the same invisible wall that had trapped it years ago. Time seemed to stretch. Keanu's head turning toward me, Tyler's eyebrows lifting just slightly, the crowd holding its breath, waiting for a sound that refused to be born. My fingers tightened around the mic until they hurt. Somewhere in the back of the room, someone snickered. The taste of that old failure rushed back, metallic and bitter. Keanu's eyes met mine. In them I saw no embarrassment, no disappointment. Only a question, "Do you want to keep going?" The band kept playing, the groove soft but steady, giving me space. But I couldn't move. I stood there frozen, my silence swelling larger with every beat of the song until it felt like the whole night was about to collapse on top of me. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it over the band. The microphone in front of me felt like a spotlight aimed inside my skull, amplifying every insecure thought. "You're choking again. They're all watching. You're proving them right." The memory of that first humiliation at the open mic wrapped itself around my lungs, squeezing. I could see Tyler in the corner of my vision, lips curved in a knowing half-smile. I wanted to run. I wanted the floor to crack open and swallow the stage whole. Keanu moved first. He didn't rush or dramatize it. He simply stepped a little closer to his own mic, turned his body so he was half facing me and half facing the crowd, and slid into the first line of the song as if that had always been the plan. His voice wasn't polished like a studio singer's. It was a little rough, a little low, carrying the weight of every late night and hard day he'd lived through. But it was warm, honest, and completely unafraid of being imperfect. The effect on the room was instant. The laughter died mid-breath. The chatter at the bar thinned to a hush. People who'd been halfway to ordering another drink stopped with their hands in the air, staring. The lyrics were simple, a song about standing beside someone who's breaking and refusing to let go, but he sang them like a promise, like every word mattered. The band relaxed into the groove, the neon lights painting soft colors across his face. He didn't close his eyes or turn away to soak in the attention. He kept glancing at me between lines, sharing the space instead of owning it. On the second half of the verse, he tilted his mic slightly toward me, inviting, not demanding. His expression said, "You can join in whenever you're ready, or not. I've got you either way." I felt my throat loosen just a little. Without thinking, I started humming under my breath, so softly that only I could hear it. The melody wrapped itself around his voice like a ghost, then grew louder, gaining courage. By the time he reached the end of the verse, my hum had turned into a fragile thread of harmony. Keanu heard it and smiled, not a big, showy grin, just a small, proud curve at the corner of his mouth. He shifted his volume back a fraction, making space. That tiny adjustment did something to me. No one had ever stepped back like that for my voice before, not even when I'd been the singer in college bands. It had always been about who could be louder, flashier, more impressive. This felt different. This felt like someone saying, "You matter, take your time." The chorus was coming. I knew it in my bones, the way you know when a wave is about to break. Tyler must have felt it too because his playing suddenly changed. The guitar swelled, growing thicker, more aggressive, like he was trying to build a wall of sound between us and the crowd. He stomped on his distortion pedal, and a sharp buzz cut across the gentle groove. A couple of people flinched. The drummer shot him a warning look. Keanu reacted like a stuntman slipping into a fight scene. He turned toward Tyler and gave him a quick nod, hand gesturing in a go-ahead motion that said, "Take the lead for a bit." It was such a generous move that it caught Tyler off guard. His eyes widened for a split second. He'd been trying to steal focus. Instead, he'd just been handed it. He launched into a solo, fast and complicated, fingers flying up and down the neck of the guitar like he was racing against something only he could see. For the next few bars, the spotlight shifted away from me. Tyler bent strings and hurled notes into the air, showing off every trick he knew. The crowd cheered, grateful for something familiar and loud. But something had changed. Their excitement didn't feel mean anymore, just normal party energy. The pressure on my chest eased. Behind the chaos of his solo, the rhythm section kept the original song alive, a steady pulse beneath the fireworks. In that pocket of borrowed time, I let my mind slip backward. Not to the night I'd failed, but further to the first time I'd ever loved singing. I saw myself as a little girl, standing on a chair in my mother's tiny kitchen, using a wooden spoon as a microphone while she stirred soup on the stove. She'd sing along in a cracked, tired voice, laughing when we missed notes, telling me, "Music isn't about being perfect, baby. It's about telling the truth so your heart doesn't explode from holding it all in." She died 2 years later, and I'd buried my songs along with her, telling myself I'd pick them up again someday when it hurt less. Someday had never come, until now, with stage lights in my eyes and a stranger standing beside me, giving me space to remember who I used to be. Tyler's solo peaked in a flurry of high notes, then tumbled down. He looked at Keanu, expecting the song to wrap, expecting applause, expecting the safe, predictable end where he could bow and soak in the cheers. Instead, Keanu turned back toward me, eyes bright, and eased back into the verse, softer this time. His voice brushed against the melody like a hand knocking gently on a closed door. I stepped up to my microphone before I could lose my nerve. The next line was mine. My stomach twisted, but I forced air into my lungs and pushed sound out past the wall in my throat. My voice came out shaky at first, a thin, trembling ribbon of sound. A few people in the front leaned in, straining to hear. I almost retreated. Then I remembered my mother's kitchen, remembered Keanu's quiet, "I've got you," and remembered the years I'd spent hiding, waiting for courage to show up like a package on my doorstep. So I sang a little louder. The notes steadied. The band adjusted around me without missing a beat. The bassist softened his part, the drummer pulled back on the cymbals, creating space for every word. Keanu slipped into a harmony just under my melody, anchoring me. My voice found the center of the note, then the next, then the one after that. By the time I reached the end of the line, the tremble had turned into something else, a rawness, a crack that carried emotion instead of fear. The room had gone completely still. The bartenders stopped pouring. The producer who never remembered my name was staring at me like he'd just discovered I'd been speaking another language the whole time. I saw the director's mouth fall open. One of the stunt guys whispered, "Holy," and then forgot to finish the sentence. Keanu stayed half a step behind me, never pushing, never overpowering, just filling in the spaces, his harmony wrapping around my melody like a safety net no one could see. For the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about who was watching or waiting for me to fail. I was thinking about the story of the song, about all the nights I'd spent feeling invisible, about every small kindness that had kept me from giving up completely. I poured all of it into the chorus as it rose up, and the note that had died in my throat 3 years ago finally broke free. I hit the high note on the chorus, not perfectly, not like a trained diva, but with everything I had. The sound seemed to hang in the air, vibrating, making the glasses on the shelves hum along. Someone in the crowd gasped. Someone else shouted, "Yes!" I felt tears sting my eyes, but they didn't choke me this time, they fueled me. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Tyler's jaw clench. His fingers tightened on the guitar neck. He stomped his pedal again, this time harder, maybe harder than he meant to. A piercing squeal of feedback exploded from the amp, shrill and violent, cutting through the song like a blade. The microphones shrieked. The lights on the power strip flickered, then went dark with a loud pop. Suddenly, the music vanished. The stage dropped into dead silence mid-chorus. I was left standing there with my mouth open, breath caught in my chest. My first real moment of courage hanging in the air with no sound and nowhere to land, while the entire room stared at me in the sudden electric dark.